Yeah, it is their episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ, Clifford, Johnny Soto. Let's have some fun today. Super Bowl's over. Boy, that was a stinker. Nice to see our now we have back-to-back Super Bowl winning Seahawk coaches coming to the Raiders as a head coach, keeping a strong tradition alive. My daughter's daycare last week before the Super Bowl, they had like a Patriots and a Seahawks thing by the door, and the kids like, picked who they think's going to win. And they asked Frankie when I was picking her up, they're like, "All right, Frankie, who's winning the football game?" She's like, "Raiders." They're like, no, they're not playing. You have to pick Seahawks or Patriots. She's like, "Raiders." I'm like, that a girl.
You learned it right.
Keep her delusional and tied to the silver and black. That's the way I like to hear it.
It's
I'm going to do it.
It's in her blood now.
It's the only way to rate her around here. So officially official. New Raiders head coach Klint Kubiak. Presser was yesterday. They had the Mount Rushmore of Raiders just stand up there awkwardly and do nothing. That was so weird. You watched the whole presser, right? I'm sure.
I did.
You got Seawood, Howie Long, just a bunch of like legends, just standing on a dais while Spytek and Clint talk. It's like these guys have like shit to do, Like these guys, like Charles Woodson has like 30 businesses. Howie Long's got broadcasting stuff to do. I know the season's over, but it's like, hey, we need you guys to fly up here and be mascots. We need you to sit at this dais while no one talks to you. So
I wouldn't say it's weird. I would say it just shows how important Raider greats are to the franchise. And I think Klint Kubiak talked a little bit about it. He acknowledged it. And, I didn't think it was that strange.
It looked awkward to me. I get like the show of strength. And if it was a game, I'd get it. It's like, hey, come to the game. We'll fly you out, sit in the suite. That I get, right? Like and that's awesome. That's an awesome thing that the Raiders do. But I don't know. Hopefully it was like a full like weekend of them doing stuff, And it's like, hey, just come to the presser since you're here. That would make more sense. But hey, we need a couple legendary mascots and Hall of Famers to just stand there while the new coach talks.
I don't think that's it, because later after the press conference, they had this interview session, and they were interviewing Marcus Allen, and Charles Woodson joined them and said, I'm not here to answer questions. I'm here to take Marcus Allen because we got a plane to catch. So they were probably just there for that.
Like, in and out. Okay.
Look, if you're looking at it from a perspective of ownership, you're selling the fan base on Klint Kubiak just as much as you're selling Klint Kubiak on the Raiders. So you bring out you trot out like in a league of their own. You show wave, smile, wave my little hat. You bring out there and you make the fan base, you make Raider Nation feel good with the glory days and the Hall of Famers and all those guys. And while you're introducing the new head coach, so it makes a little sense there. I get it.
Now, if Charles Woodson came out like Tom Hanks in a league of their own with like a big thing of chew in his mouth, right, hammered, he's like, yes. If I paid you more, could you be a little bit more disgusting? I just sure could use the money.
Use the money.
That I would have loved. That would have been awesome. I didn't get a whole lot from the presser. Very football speak from all parties involved. But the one thing I got out of Klint, and it's kind of what we know about him, it was just like, he's clearly no nonsense. He's like, here's my speech. I'm not going to read it. But every answer was like, I'm here to work. It's like, why do you think, why convince Raider Nation of X? He's like, I can only do that with my actions. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. Right. And it was like, okay, you have one day to go to your Super Bowl parade, and then you're coming back and getting right to work. Right. Which is no small thing. Right. He's 4 kids. They're all in school. Was I the only one looking at those 4 kids? And I was like, oh, thank God none of them are old enough to be our O-line coach. Thank God. Klint.
Yeah, I was like, that chick is getting a little older. She's like 12 right now, maybe. I think she's probably getting close.
She could be like assistant DB coach. She's just old enough just to throw the kids a token job. But but he's got some work to do right away. To
And
me,
yeah,
that's what he gets for winning. Son of a bitch.
Winning so many damn games.
Cost us a bunch of weeks.
Fucking show off.
He's behind on the coaching search now, which it makes me think we will get a lot of Seahawks because, so many guys have already been picked up. Only the Seahawks and Patriots, were sticking around because they had to keep playing. So that could be good and bad depending on who he gets. Long-term and short-term roster planning with SpyTech.
Yeah,
we talk about all the time, man. Consistency is so important because now it's like, okay, 2 seasons ago, you wanted what AP wanted. Last season, you wanted what Pete Carroll wanted. Now you got to get what Klint Kubiak wants, And it's like, what does it look like? What do you want? What's your alternative? What's your plan B? What do you want in a linebacker? What do you want in a long snapper? You got to get all on the same page on that. And that's before you can start scouting and like really hitting the pavement, watching film, because you don't even know who you want yet, right? So it's like, dude, get down in the bunker, boys. Get some work to do.
Yeah, the first order of business is like internal scouting. You have to understand who on the team that you have is going to be there that you can feel like you can do something with. And that's not anything small. I mean, SpyTech can give his input, but ultimately it's going to have to be Kubiak who makes the decisions with him. So and this may not be the final decision either, because if you bring in a Jim Schwartz, we don't have a Jim Schwartz defense.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
We don't have anyone we don't have corners that can play man.
We don't have 330-pound defensive tackles. That's a Jim Schwartz defense, a double A gap, freaking edges out wide, crashing wide 9. Like that's Jim Schwartz defense. It's like attacking huge interior. We drafted 2 interior defensive linemen last year in the draft. Neither one of them were penetrators.
They're speedster gap penetrators.
295. Yeah. So that's not Jim Schwartz defense. So these are things you have to really wrap your head around. The personnel has to fit what the coach wants to do. And I think it's a little bit easier offensively to be able to do that. Defensively, it's not so easy because you have to have specific guys that can do specific things for a Jim Schwartz. And Jim Schwartz is the name out there. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think you could probably get him for like a pick swap. That's usually what they do. With the coordinators, you can't trade a pick for a coordinator like that. You can trade it for a head coach, not a coordinator. But what you can do is you can make it a condition of something else. So if you do a pick swap, then you could like hide it in there. Along with this pick swap, we're going to, release Jim Schwartz of his contract.
Buy a new 2026 Honda Accord and we'll throw in a set of steak knives. And that would be Schwartz.
Something like that, yeah. So it's not going to – if they wanted it to happen, they can make it happen. So the thing that we're looking at here is, as far as the press conference goes, a couple of things really stood out to me. The first one that stood out, well, not the first one, but the one that stood out the most was he was asked about, Klint Kubiak was asked about coming into the facility for the first time and seeing it. And he said, well, I've been here before. We practiced against the 49ers. He didn't say we practiced against the Raiders when I was with the Niners. He said we, as in the Raiders, practiced against the Niners. He was actually with the Niners at the time. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool. He's already like what is it?
I mean, it's his fifth. It's his fifth team in 5 years. Like he's learned the jargon quick.
He's learned to learn what to do. He's like he's bought in, right? He's a Raider. But also, one thing that really jumped out, it may or may not have been a slight to Pete Carroll, but he said he has to win, and he has to win his trust, and he has to earn the right to coach another week every single week. Mm-hmm. And that's a stark difference from Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was, and I'm a Pete Carroll fan, I still am, but his thing was just keep doing what we're doing, it'll get better. Whereas Kubiak is like, we need to do it now. I need to prove that I can be here next week. Now, I'm not looking 6-8 weeks down the road for us to get better. We need to get better now. And he's from a tree that is very hard on assistant coaches. And that was something that he learned with Jesse Minter, and he learned under Mike Zimmer. Like these coaches are hard on their assistants. So whoever he brings in better have tough skin, because when it's old school. We're not just blaming the players for not playing well. We're blaming why is he making this mistake? You need to coach this out of him. What are we doing to make sure he doesn't do this? So coaching the coaches is something that we wanted to have happen with Pete Carroll, and he was historically did a good job doing that. And him firing a special teams coach for having poor special teams and firing offensive coordinator for having poor offense, but not firing his offensive line coach for having the worst offensive line in the league. That was his death sentence. So I don't think we're going to get that with Klint Kubiak. I don't think his kids are old enough, like you said.
Dude, Klint Kubiak's the first Raiders coach they've hired that's younger than me. Like, think about that for a minute.
Which old ass.
Right? There's
you're younger than AP?
Oh yeah, AP's like 48.
Oh, he's my age then.
Yeah. So I say that not to talk about how old I am, but like when Pete Carroll's twice that age, has a Super Bowl ring, he can come in with kind of a, I'm in charge. And that led to so much of the problems. It's like because Pete Carroll had so much cachet and had so much experience, he can go into rooms and kind of get his way a little bit more. Whereas Klint Kubiak's like, I need to earn that. It's like he's like Klint Kubiak's like a rookie, right? He's 38 years old. Like he's a first round draft pick, but you're still coming into the locker room as a rookie. It's like, okay, like we're going to give you a lot of leash. We know that, you're here for a reason. You're highly touted, but you're still getting wedgies, like you're still a rookie and we're still going to give you some of the rookie shit. And I think Klint Kubiak came in with that mindset. He's like, okay, like I got to, I had my pick of the litter. I got offered many jobs. I literally just like, he's gonna be knocking his Super Bowl ring on the table anytime he wants to, but he understands. Like I'm 38. I got to earn this. This is my first head coaching job. I have a lot to learn. I have a lot to teach. I got that vibe out of him, which, like you made a great point, a stark contrast to Pete Carroll, who's just kind of like 10-win seasons just fall on my dick. I just pop my Viagra and then just fall on my dick.
Yeah, there's a lot to be just gathered from how the mindset is different. And I think it's gonna pay off if we allow it time to pay off, because and John Spytek alluded to it when he was up there talking, and then after he had an interview himself. You're not hiring Klint Kubiak as head coach off of his experience, because he doesn't have any as a head coach. What you're hiring is the person. You're hiring the man. You understand that the man has the qualities to be a good leader. We've seen it a bunch of times. Look at Josh McDickhead. Like, he's offensive coordinator, yeah. Head coach, no, no good. So you're hiring the guy. You're not hiring, because ultimately, Klint Kubiak said it. His resume is on tape. He's shown you what he can do as an offensive coordinator. That's his resume as a coach, right? Now you're interviewing the man. And if you believe in the man, you have to believe in him 100%. I think that's what happened with AP. I don't think they believed in him 100%. They believed that he was able to catch lightning in the bottle. Maybe some say because he played predominantly backup quarterbacks, or he caught lightning in the bottle because of some freakish numbers that are hard to duplicate. But they didn't really have the confidence in him, which is why they gave him 15 different coaches to tell him what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they believe in him, they need to set it and forget it. He's like a wind-up toy. Just wind him up and point him in direction and let him go. If he gets stuck in the corner, okay, help him out. But ultimately, you're saying we believe in you, the person, the man. Okay, go out and get it done.
Klint is going to be judged on Fernando Mendoza. Both their careers are going to be tied together on the development of Fernando Mendoza. If he can get Fernando to work and be successful, then he'll have the job for as long as Fernando's around and playing well. That's what happens when you do a young, offensive-minded, quarterback whisperer-ish type guy, and you hire a number 1 overall pick who's a quarterback. Like, that's what he's going to be judged on, especially early. And by early, I mean like the first 3 years, right? Like, it's a development game. What do I always say? What do I look for? I don't care where you've been. I don't care where you are. Where are you going? I'm going to judge Klint Kubiak, obviously on everything. Is he becoming a good head coach, et cetera? But the biggest thing is, how's Fernando doing? Offensive course. I can't wait to see this stretch run game of his. All the other things that he does. But the main thing, especially outside, like nationally, that's all he's going to be judged by, is Fernando Mendoza. That's it. That's the resume. He has taken a nail, wrote a resume, and dug it into Fernando Mendoza. And I don't think that's unfair or an incorrect way to do it. When you have a 38-year-old offensive coordinator's first head coaching job and you're picking the number 1 overall quarterback, I think that's why if the Raiders didn't have the number one overall pick and Fernando Mendoza wasn't here, I don't think the Raiders really would go after Klint Kubiak hard. I don't think Klint Kubiak would come here. Like, everyone's on board with what's going on. Everyone knows what the deal is.
Yeah, it's they can blow the smoke screen out there as far as like, oh, well, we got to watch a lot of tape and he's an option and blah, 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 and this and that. But that's why you bring in an offensive kind of guru who has just shown the last few seasons he got a pretty good, half a season out of Carr before he got hurt. Mm-hmm. And he pulled out a pretty damn good season out of Sam Darnold. And it seems like Sam Darnold was able to turn the corner from what O'Connell couldn't do in Minnesota. And he was able to design an offense that was more suited to Sam Darnold being successful. That first Rams game this year was the turning point, I think. He put too much on his plate and he ended up throwing 4 picks. And he's like, whoa, we can't do that again. Mm-hmm. We got to make sure we can run the ball. And he started doing it more often. And they were able to design something that takes advantage of Darnold's arm and his legs and stuff. So, yeah, that's the reason you bring a guy like him in. And the reason you hire him, or that's the reason you look at him as a head coach candidate. And the reason you bring him in is because he's displayed to you that he gets it. He gets what it takes to be a head coach in this league. He's not only the guy who can, tailor an offense. Because look, what Klint Kubiak did this year as an offensive coordinator was pretty freaking amazing. He changed his offense midseason. He changed what his offense did midseason. He started off being a guy who threw the ball a lot and stuff like that. Once he had that 4-pick game against the Rams, Klint Kubiak changed the offense around. So it's a stark contrast to what we had last season. We were just doing the same shit over and over and over again, right? And just hoping that we would eventually get better at it. Remember the whole Pete Carroll thing? Well, we'll just keep doing it and get better at it because eventually it's going to work. Well, Kubiak is like, okay, that didn't work. I can't waste any more games hoping for this to work. Because the NFL is a copycat league. Once a team shows you what their weakness is, other teams are going to attack that too. So you have to be able to adjust to keep that success going. And that's the on-tape part of the interview. And the other part was the man part of the interview. So just the fact that he was able to acknowledge that, yeah, maybe I wasn't right about this, I had to switch it up. That's a big plus for him.
So that's how Klint Kubiak's going to be judged, both in the short term and midterm. Almost exclusively quarterback play and then plus, which I think is fair. But how I'm going to judge the rest of the Raiders is just as important. Tom Brady, John Spytek, and Klint Kubiak, right? I was asking for head coaches that could be the, I know you hate the term culture changer, but it's a big deal, especially with the Raiders have been losing for 20 years. It's people are communicating, are people held accountable, all the things we've been talking about forever. Klint Kubiak doesn't have a history of being that type of guy, and he doesn't seem to have that type of personality. He can be, right? There's a lot of different ways to get an organization working, and maybe Klint is that guy, but I don't think he was hired to be that guy. He was hired to get Fernando Mendoza going and his potential and his young and his offensive mind. So now the role falls on Tom Brady and John Spytek to be the culture changers, to make sure that everyone's on the same page, to make sure everyone's rowing in the same direction. Klint's 38, brand new head coach. Don't overload him with everything. Pick your staff, get your offense going. Tell us what you would like in your personnel. We'll go get them. Tell us what you want a practice to look like. We'll help you organize it, right? Just kind of, what do you want? How do you like it? You do your offense. We'll do everything we can to get you the defensive coordinator. That works great, blah, blah, blah. And now it's up to John Spytek to get the players, and it's up to Tom Brady to keep all that shit going. Because if they hired just John Gruden as an example, it'd be like, okay, that's all on you, John, because you're going to want everything your way. So now that's 100% on you. Fail or success. It's 100%. When John Gruden was coach of the Raiders, everything fell on him because he had final say in everything, good and bad. Not the case now. And the great reports that we're all hearing is that Tom Brady and Klint Kubiak were like two pigs in shit. Just football nerds, speak the same language, just the same guy, which is great news because Tom Brady's going to have to take over the role that hasn't been taken over since Gruden. And that's someone getting the entire organization on the same page. Because I think demanding for Klint Kubiak to be that guy out of the gate, he has no history of being that guy, and it's unfair for a 38-year-old rookie head coach. He's got his hands full. Let him keep his hands full with what we know he's an expert in, and let him learn as he goes.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be that much involved. I think that's going to fall on Spytek. But the other stuff, I agree with you. I think that's why a lot of there's reports out there that Jim Schwartz is a heavy favorite to be the defensive coordinator, and it makes a lot of sense. You don't want to bring in a Klint Kubiak as a first-time head coach and ask him to do too many things. Basically, Jim Schwartz is an assistant head coach, but he's a defensive coordinator. You can just say, okay, handle your shit, handle your meetings and all that stuff. You know what you're doing.
However you want to do it.
Let me take care of the offense. You take care of the defense. Like remember the Titans. Split down the middle. You handle the defense. I'll handle the offense.
Black. Oh no. Offense, defense.
I didn't say that.
Did you hear Nick? Totally apropos of nothing. Did you hear Nick Wright's idea to make the NBA All-Star game interesting?
What do you say?
Make it white guys versus black guys.
That's terrible.
Because it's the first time in history.
Barstool Sports also already
close.
had that with the NFL All-Star.
The NFL,
game.
yeah.
They had the draft, the racial draft.
I mean, you think about it, like you got all the Eastern Europeans. That was that Charlotte white boy that's coming up. Like it's weird to see for the first time in like 50 years, it might actually be close and competitive. Anyway, but yeah, exactly. Like that's another thing too, is kind of have the same idea of what they had with Antonio Pierce is like, okay, you're a first-time head coach. Let's get you a lot of help, but smart, instead of just hiring 30 of the wrong guys, get the 4 right guys and have Tom Brady and John Spytek do their roles. Right. And I think that's partly why Spytek really like this hire is because, Spytek's got job security to worry about. I don't think this is nefarious, but he doesn't want to diminish his role. He doesn't want to hire somebody that's going to step all over him. So it's like, oh, Klint Kubiak, offensive genius, brand new guy. He's going to need my help. I'm going to be valuable. Of the Venn diagram of skill sets, we don't overlap a lot, right? We're both good at very different things, which is good job security. Works
what
for
you
him.
Want. It's what you want. You don't want to have a guy do too much because you can't fire him from one thing. if we had John Gruden as our head coach and basically our glorified GM and team president, he was everything, right? So we were stuck with his awful drafting as long as he was our head coach.
Yep.
We were stuck with his terrible free agent signings as long as he was our head coach. So there should be a division. There should be a division there. And in the press conference, Klint Kubiak did say that he basically he reports to John Spytek. Like that's who he reports to. They're going to work together on certain things, but he reports to John Spytek, and that's a very important dynamic for the team as a whole, because you actually see, who do I go to when I have an issue? Who do I go to when I need X? It's something that's very linear instead of mom and dad. Well, this guy said no, maybe this guy will say yes, type of thing. So it looks like things are calming down, like the waters are settling a little bit. So hopefully that's what happens, and we get Klint Kubiak the guys he wants. The few guys in Seattle that I think are going to come over. There's guys like there's Pete, there's Janoko. Those I think the one of those guys who doesn't get offensive coordinator is coming, because those are Klint Kubiak guys. John Benton, he wasn't a Seahawks hire. That's a John Benton, the offensive line coach, was an excellent offensive line coach. He was not only the offensive line coach with Klint Kubiak in New Orleans, he was the offensive line coach for Gary Kubiak his entire time with the Texans. So that's a Kubiak guy, right? He's not going to stick with Seattle. He's going to go wherever Kubiak goes, right?
Been in the league 2 decades, and that's and a brand new head coach, veteran O-line, like
yes, and a guy that's good, not just a veteran O-line, a good veteran O-line coach. You get a couple of young guys to be your OC or your quarterback coach or wherever in Janoko or in Pete. You get those guys to come in, and you have other guys that speak your same language who are able to be your voice when you're not around. Because Klint Kubiak's going to find out, hey man, I got to look at this whole thing. Just because I'm not coaching the defense doesn't mean I don't look over there. Like I got to make sure everything is running smooth. I can't sit there and talk to the quarterback all day. So you need to have those guys that speak the same language. So it's going to be it's a little shaky right now. It's a little dicey because it's a little late in the game. And on one side of the coin, most of or a large majority of the coaches who are worth a shit, who are worth hiring, already have jobs.
Yeah.
And the other side is there's no competition for these guys, for whoever's left. There's really no competition anymore, because you're going to hire guys if they're available. It's because they don't have a job and there's no other positions available with any other team, right? So we'll see, man. We'll see. It's going to be a very interesting. I think it's going to be quicker than not. I know that the combine's coming up in a couple weeks.
Driven slow.
Yeah, I think it'll be quick. Can
we have some hot and bothered O-line talk real quick, since you brought it up? As bad as the Raiders O-line is, it feels a lot like the 2025 Raiders O-line was like the 2024 Seahawks O-line. They had a shit offensive coordinator in Ryan Grabb, a first-time O-line coach in Scott Huff, which, just like the Raiders, right? Shitty offensive. He ended up being a shitty offensive coordinator. And then Brendan Carroll, who had literally never been an O-line coach before, is now an O-line coach in the NFL, first time, right? The Seahawks had 2 pretty good O-linemen, and that was it. Raiders, 2 pretty good O-linemen. They both got hurt, but 2 like, okay, those are for sure like good starters. And then the 2025 Seahawks, the OC was Tits and Klint Kubiak, obviously. John Benton came on board, and they were a top 10 unit out of the gate, right? Like, you're telling me the Raiders can't do the exact same thing. You can't get Benton in there. Obviously, Klint Kubiak's the offensive coordinator. We get our 2 good guys for sure, starters, healthy, 100 million in cap space. We've got young guys that could fill in. Like, this O-line can turn around pretty fucking quick, man. The exact same recipe just happened.
Yeah, I made a video three moves that the Raiders can do to completely transform their offensive line. The first move was hire John Benton. That's the first move. Get a veteran, good, well-respected, still at the top of his game offensive line coach in there to simplify things, but also make them more intricate at the same time. You sign. I just took a stab at the best lineman available by a lot of people's regard in Tyler Linderbaum, and you have your rock at center. He was 3 out of 4 years he was a Pro Bowler. The only year he wasn't was his rookie season when he was on the All Rookie team. So you put him at center, and then the other one is you just use it because my rationale was this. Yeah, you have $90 million, but you can't use it all on the offensive line because we have needs a lot of different places. We can't
literally everywhere.
We can't spend big time money on 3 offensive linemen because you're already spending big time money on Colton Miller. The offensive line room, you can only spend so much in that room, right? Colton Miller is getting paid big money. You're getting paid big money to Tyler Linderbaum. Okay, well then you got to switch. You got to mix and match who you have. I said to move Jackson Powers Johnson over to left guard next to Colton Miller. You kick in DJ Glaze from right tackle to right guard, and then you put in Charles Grant to get him some snaps on the field because he's your left tackle of the future. You put him in there at right tackle, and there's your new offensive line. You got one signing, and you just kind of shift everyone else around, and there you go. If DJ Glaze gets beat out by, Caleb Rogers, well, then so be it. So this is what we're looking at. I think you can make those types of improvements quickly if you have certain things. You don't have to like I'm reading these things in comment sections like, oh, we gotta sign this, we gotta sign 2 high-end offensive. Like, no, you can't do that. You can't spend so much money on one part of your team. John Gruden tried to do that, and the defense was freaking terrible because he didn't have enough money to spend on guys, and he wasted a lot of the money that he did. He spent on Joyner and so it's very difficult.
He spent money on defense, and there's also the Gunther effect too, right? Like your point is correct, but then also the Gunth was.
Yeah, it didn't get much better under Gus Bradley. So it's you can't spend that much money on the offensive line room. You have to have younger guys coming up. You have to have it.
There's the other X factor, and I think the whole point of this O-line discussion is the other X factor. It's like the O-line last season was worse than the sum of their parts, right? Like it wasn't talented, but it was also worse than the sum of their parts for many reasons. The 2 best guys got hurt. The young rookies that showed a lot of promise didn't get any play. Pete Carroll's people that they brought in sucked. There was a lot of moving parts. Plus, I think the other part is, I said it the second the Raiders hired Chip Kelly, it's like the Achilles heel of Chip Kelly is he demands a lot of his O-line. Like you got to be good, and not just a type of good. Like you got to be able to run block, you got to be able to pass block, you got to be able to pick up stunts, you got to be able to pull. Like it's not like he has like a style where you can get cheap or easy guys. It's like he just demands a lot. Klint Kubiak, he demands a type of guy, but opposite. Like the old line just overall played better. Yes, Benton for sure. 3 new guys, no question about it. But he also has a scheme that's a little bit more O-line friendly. Like he demands something specific out of them. But it's a little bit more O-line friendly, which is the other part. And that's why, like, normally that's exactly my mentality, Soto. Like you always kind of think like coach, I always kind of think like GM. But there's a greater economic thing here. The economics of your team, salary cap, timeline, everything changes when you draft a quarterback number 1 overall. The whole timeline changes. Everything's different now, right? Everything's different because now you're in that gilded age, that golden window of 4 to 5 years of hopefully, probably, I'm going to say definitely, a fantastic quarterback where you're paying him pennies, right? That's your quarterback window. That is just a GM's orgy dream. That is just perfect, right? So now the timeline is we need to have the offense in a place where Fernando Mendoza can start developing now. Not next season, not halfway through the season, now. Because every day, every rep, every practice, every game is so valuable because there's only 4 to 5 years of those, right? What's 17 times 5? 85? 85 games of him under a rookie deal. That's all you get. That's it. And then he's going to cost us $80 million a year, right? The offense needs to be in a place where it's good enough for him to develop under it. A shitty O-line, and I'm the last person to say, hey, overpay. I know we're away from contending. The Super Bowl's a couple years away. Let's plan for the future. That's why I was so happy with the last 2 GMs where it's like, let's not go crazy, dude. Just like wait, and we'll spend it when we're ready. The timeline has now changed. This offense needs to be in a place where Fernando Mendoza can develop correctly, not running for his life because we've got the right side of the O-line destroyed. So I'm not arguing against you, Soto. But if it gets to a point where you're like, Grant's not ready, Glaze isn't the guy, then you go and maybe you overpay for a right tackle too, just because the economics have completely changed. The timeline has completely changed. There needs to be a place, and it's not going to be perfect, right? You're not going to have 3 number 1 receivers like Joe Burrow did. You're not going to have the Lions offensive line day 1, but you need to make it as close as possible because every single snap that Fernando Mendoza takes from now until he's a $400 million quarterback is just gold.
Yeah. So I think I've already done some of the scouting work when I did the offensive line shift. If I wasn't certain that I think DJ Glaze can be a Pro Bowl guard. I think he's very good. I just think he lacks some of the lateral mobility that's needed to play tackle. He's massive. He's 6'4", 330 with really long arms. So he can definitely win the battle on some of those interior guys.
He handled the power rushers. He handled no problem.
No problem. It's the speed rushers that gave him a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And speed rushers didn't give Charles Grant any problems. His footwork and, I showed a video where he blocked a guy 50. He grabbed the guy. And he did a freaking, what was that movie? Blindside. He grabbed him and he blocked him 15 yards down the field. Just grabbed him and just kept running and blocking him down 15 yards down the field. He's got a mean streak on him. And, I said Colton Miller, he's not a Boy Scout out there. So, again, yeah, if it's not working, of course, you go get another guy. You get an upgrade, right? But I don't know that you set out to spend half of your cap on 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, you don't want to go nuts here, but I think the offense is on the short leash. I think the defense you develop, the offense you spend. Again, only purely because of Fernando Mendoza, because he's just like, let's get him ready to go. I think you go out. I don't know what QB wide receiver 1. I don't know if Pickens will be available, but I think there needs to be a big body wide receiver to pick up. Obviously, at least two good O linemen, maybe like a Linderbaum, a very expensive one, and maybe another good one. As stupid as Josh McDaniels is, he was 1,000% correct when he said you need 8 starting O linemen, right? So it's, even if we get our 5, you need 3 other ones that are ready, that are like, you knew this guy was going to get some serious snaps this season. Not like, we have to rush this guy. It's like, nope, we know he's going to play a little bit. And the defense, you take it. Obviously, you still want to improve it, but defense can take its time. Defense, let's build it correctly. Let's build it right. Let's make sure we got the foundation and the studs, both literally and metaphorically, and we'll get it ready. When we get ready, because with Fernando Mendoza coming to town, the goal should be contending for a Super Bowl in 3 seasons, or it's a failure, or you wasted this beautiful gilded age of a rookie quarterback contract contract deal. 3 years, Super Bowl contention, or it's a failure.
Yeah, when I was watching the interviews, the panel asked Marcus Allen, Charles Woodson, and Howie Long the same question, and they answered it the exact same way. You build a team from the lines first, and that's what we need to do. I understand that the outside guys are flashy and they catch the touchdowns, and the running back is the guy who jumps over people, and like he's the guy that runs over people, and the DBs get the picks and all that stuff, and that's great. But none of that works if your guys up front aren't doing what they need to do. And
Spy takes philosophy.
It's got to be something that everyone's on board with. If the George Pickens would be nice. Right now we only have 4 wide receivers under contract: Besh, Thornton, Shed Jackson, and Tucker. Those are the only 4 receivers we have under contract. Maybe we'll draft 1 or 2. Who knows? Maybe we'll only carry 5 or 6. Because we were going to run a lot of, 12, maybe even 13 personnel. But
it's kind of weird with Clint. Like, you could almost field an offense without a wide receiver 1. You always obviously want one, but you could almost.
I mean, Bowers can be his jack, because who else was there besides?
Yeah.
Because look, you have the Shaheed. I like Tucker. He can play that Shaheed role, I think. So you can. I'm sure he can design an offense with Bowers being the Jackson Smith and Jigba role. What we're looking at here is, if you don't have to spend big money on the guys out wide, if you can spend a little extra on the line, you can get a pass rusher, you can get, this year's Milton Williams, or, you can get one of those guys. I still like Booker very much. I think he could be a really good player. But there's a couple of guys that need to kind of, hey, Adam Butler, you've been a nice player, but we need more. We need more for that position. We need more. I love Malcolm Kuntz. We need more. I don't love Tyree Wilson as much, but we definitely need more. We need more out of the players that we have on the field, on the defensive line. It's not a Howie Long, Lyle Alzado, Patuzak. Like that's not what we have right now. We need that. We need the Lincoln Kennedy and Wisniewski and Barrett Robbins, and we need that, offensive line. Like we need those types of guys. We don't have that right now. We have pieces. We have this here and there, but that's why we're so hit and miss sometimes. Some games we're like, wow, we're running the ball really well this game against the Texans, against what a great defensive front. But then the next week we can't even move the ball, 50 yards. So these are things that need to be ironed out, and a running back, a defensive back, and a defensive end all told you the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You need to build from the inside out. And I can see us definitely going all out on both sides of the line.
I feel like Spytek has made T-shirts saying the exact same thing, right? As soon as he showed up, he's just like building the trenches first, trenches and then on, I got asked this question. I didn't even think about it when I was watching the presser, but I got asked this question on Tuesday when I did my little spot on Cofield's show. He's like, Tom Brady wasn't at the presser. Does that bother you? I'm like, I didn't even think about it, because everything we're hearing, everything we're being told is he now needs to have an active role. He needs to have a presence of some kind. But on the flip side, he's still getting $40 million a year from Fox. I think he still has to pretend like he's not actively coaching. I don't know. What did you make of not having? Did you even think about it? Because I didn't when Brady wasn't there.
Not really, because having an active role doesn't mean your role requires you to be there every day. I think people are trying to project that, like people like Fuckface Florio are trying to project that role onto Tom Brady. Like he's a part owner. He has to be the de facto president. No, he doesn't. He can be there as an advisor to John Spytek when John Spytek needs a little bit, he needs a little fine tuning, driving the tanker across the freaking Atlantic Ocean. You're not going to make sharp turns with that thing, but you can make 1 degree here or there to make sure you're clear on what the destination is. That I really came to appreciate. I have a cousin who is like an older brother to me, and he's very successful in business. And I have questions sometimes, and I ask him, I talk to him, hey, and he never gives me a straight answer. He asks me questions for me to be able to come up with the answers on my own. And I appreciate that from him. That can be a very similar role that Tom Brady's like, because he doesn't have to be there all the time to be the question and answer guy. He can be the guy who say, hey, remember, this is the goal here. How does X, Y, and Z get us closer to this goal? Does, ABC take us away from it type of thing? So he can have a more defined role. Doesn't mean it has to be an everyday role.
Yeah. Because we're still trying to, last season, everyone's trying to figure out what is Tom Brady's exact role, both on the outside and from reports from the inside, right? So many people were like, I don't know who I'm reporting to. I don't know who's in charge. This season, that whole process gets refigured out again because Mark Davis, Spytek, other people have been like, Tom Brady is in charge of some shit. He's in charge of the head coaching hire. He's in charge of X, Y, Z. And I don't know what percentage of credit Tom Brady gets for landing Klint Kubiak, but it's not zero. It's not zero. He gets credit for that. It's the first tangible thing we have seen that we've benefited from having Tom Brady. Maybe there's some things behind the scenes that are helping. Maybe there's things behind the scenes that are hurting. I don't know. But this is the first tangible, yes, X percentage of credit goes to Tom Brady for picking up Klint Kubiak. Because I would have put X percentage of blame on Tom for not getting Klint Kubiak. Like
that's fair.
If you can't swoop in at the most important part of the off season when you're now off from Fox, like you're not broadcasting anymore, and you can't come in and help get a head coach at these pivotal moments.
That don't mean he ain't putting in work,
right?
You know what I mean?
Well, that was my other thought process. Is like, is Tom Brady like pretending to hide? Is he not there on purpose, or is he just like knuckles deep?
Hide and seek, all right.
Is he just knuckles deep in an Instagram model in Mexico? Like maybe it was just as simple as that. But this is the first time where I can say credit to Tom, him, and all this hoopla and all this time we spent talking about it and all the distraction that Tom is. Here is a tangible, real benefit that he has given the Raiders for his below market price to be a part owner.
For the type of situation that we're in, I think most of the teams out there that needed a head coach were in a similar situation. I think the few that weren't, even though the Giants only won a few games, they lost damn near every player who was worth a shit on offense. A lineman, their best receiver, their running back. They lost everyone who was worth a shit on offense.
They kept my favorite non-Raider quarterback, Jackson Dart, who got us number 1, baby.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart.
What you have to look at is, Harbaugh was going there. The second he was fired, he picked up the phone. He was going to the Giants. And Pittsburgh is a little bit different as well. But before any of these coaches were fired, or, if you want to believe that Tomlin wasn't going to get fired, I think he pulled the I break up with you before you break up with me thing.
You can't fire me, I quit. Yeah.
Exactly. So in that sense of a hiring cycle, Klint Kubiak was the number 1 selection. The reflection of perfection.
Twisted steel and sex appeal.
You like that? He lives barbell plates. He eats T-bone steaks. He's sweeter than German chocolate cake. How much more of this can you take?
Comment
Sorry.
section.
That's Superstar Billy Graham. If you know, find Superstar Billy Graham and listen to his promos. He's amazing. But look, what we're looking at here is we got the belle of the ball. The one that everyone wanted. That's who we got. And we got him for a reason. But Conversely, he also chose the Raiders for a reason or multiple reasons. You can say that it's the facilities. The facilities are top notch. Everyone who talks about the facilities, and I listen to other people's podcasts from different teams, and I've heard it like there's like the Raiders facility is like maybe not everyone's number one choice, but it's always one of the top choices. They always say, "Oh, the Raiders facility is great."
That NFLPA survey they do every year. It's always like top.
Amazing. It's always at the top. They have the number one pick. The number one pick out there happens to be a quarterback who he may like. That's another draw. The fact he may got along with John Spytek and liked, the cut of his jib. Who knows? But if you don't like your boss, definitely if you don't like your boss's boss, you may not take that job. If he wasn't comfortable with the hierarchy of things and how they were going on, if he's the belle of the ball now under the Super Bowl champion, he could have waited a year and got in a different situation. Hands down. Because Ben Johnson did it, but Kubiak actually won the Super Bowl, right? So his shine's not going to fall. He's not going to be like a what was his name? Slowiak from the Texans. He did a great job with C.J. Stroud his rookie year. Wow, Bobby Slowiak, this guy's a freaking man. He's going to be a head coach. He waited, and then he got fired, and now he's bouncing around. That's not going to happen to Klint Kubiak. So he had to not only like the peripheral things, but the tangibles, like the draft pick and who is probably going to be the pick, but also some of the intangibles and the leadership structure. He has to be comfortable with all that because he knows, hey, I'm getting this shot at 38 years old. Who knows how long I'm going to have to wait to get another one if this doesn't work out?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll push back on is I don't think he was everyone's number one. Like, I think the Giants wanted Harbaugh. I think Tennessee wanted Saleh. But those were also the right fits. Like, Harbaugh's going to come in and be in charge of everything. That wasn't going to happen at the Raiders. You have Tom Brady. You have Spytek. You know what I mean? You've got more cooks in the kitchen than that. Like, Harbaugh's not, they're not going to look to hire somebody like that. But I mean, to your point, I'm not pushing back on that at all. He was the fit, right? He was the fit. Fernando, cap space, wide berth, 5-year deal, which we're being told. I'm sure it's like $13 million a year.
I mean, Joe Brady, got 5 years.
But it's going to be like $13 million a year.
Yeah, these guys are getting 5 years
Mark Davis. Now. It's Mark Davis.
Hopefully,
girthy.
Hopefully that maybe leads to a little bit more patience in the NFL. I think a lot of these coaches are getting a raw deal. I mean, they're still getting paid and everything, and that's fine. But I think that a lot of these teams out there really need to be a little bit more patient with their guys. Hopefully this is kind of like giving everybody 5-year deals is going to give them a chance to kind of get their sea legs under them.
This is how bad of a fit Pete was with the Raiders. I think everyone really, really, really wanted to give Pete Carroll time and patience, but he kept just fucking it up in new and exciting ways.
He did things that he doesn't normally do. That's the problem. He did so many things that he doesn't normally do. That was not a Chip Kelly offense. That was a hybrid of a Chip Kelly / Pete Carroll in Seattle type of offense, and it didn't work.
That was a 12-year-old with Down syndrome
defense. What is Pittsburgh known for? Their defense. They hired Patrick Graham as their defensive coordinator. Anyone out there who thinks Patrick Graham stinks as defensive coordinator, you don't know what you're talking about. The Raiders ranked, I think, 26th in dollars spent on the defense. His tenure there, I think they were like the lowest in the NFL of spending on the defensive side of the ball. They were giving him kibbles and bits to work with. You had Max, and then what else on the defense?
Every year, the defense was better than dollars spent. Every year.
Every single year. And the thing we have to take a look at is that wasn't a Patrick Graham defense. Patrick Graham doesn't run a soft cover 3 zone 60% of the time. That Patrick Graham never did that. So what you're taking a look at is that's something that Pete didn't do that in other places. They ran that zone, but he didn't change. He had his guys that he wanted to run and were comfortable running what he wanted to run. He didn't have that when he came here, and he was forcing these things on these guys. I'm not giving Chip Kelly a pass whatsoever. He's a grown man. He can, pay the consequences for his actions.
$6 million a year, figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, but if you're not running your offense, if you're running some bastardized hybrid of your offense, I might be calling the wrong plays too. I might be calling the wrong checks and the wrong plays in the wrong formation. I might be doing that too if it's not my offense. I could do that too.
Yeah.
And Pete Carroll, what I know of Pete Carroll all the way back from when I really started to get to know him when he was a coach at SC, he was about developing his coaches and holding them accountable. I talked about it earlier. Firing a guy is not holding him accountable. Being able to coach him up and get him better, that's holding him accountable. And cutting bait on the special teams coach, then cutting bait on the offensive coordinator, and not doing anything to Brennan Carroll when Geno Smith, again, I'm not making excuses for him either, while he's getting his head taken off. That's not who Pete Carroll is. That's not who he was in his previous stops. That's not who he was when he was successful. Was that an issue with the front office not wanting to give him complete control? Maybe, maybe not. If you believe what happened, that Chip Kelly was Tom Brady's selection for an offensive coordinator, but ultimately Pete Carroll was too stubborn to let people do what they do. We talked about it with Klint Kubiak. I would love for them to get a veteran defensive coordinator with a track record of building good, strong defenses. So the model of what the Rams did with Wade Phillips and with Sean McVay. They brought in Wade Phillips and said, you know what, Wade Phillips, you have head coaching experience. You're an experienced defensive coordinator. You've had good defenses. Do your thing. Let Sean McVay do what he does. Focus on the offense. Learn how to be a head coach. Pete Carroll came in and he's like, yo, I'm gonna mix everything up, when he should have said, like, you know what? You're experienced. You're the man. Run your offense. You run your offense. And Patrick Graham, you run your defense. I will be the CEO to make sure everything runs okay. But he didn't do that. He did the exact opposite of that, which is that, and him be able to think on the fly, and he just he pushed himself into a corner when he convinced whoever he convinced that he could win now. Once he did that, and he put all his chips in the Geno Smith basket, that's another big strike against him.
Everything we thought Pete Carroll would improve, he actually made worse. It's like, okay, he'll bring stability, right? He's a veteran. He'll bring stability. Nope, made more anarchy. Oh, he's really good at drafting, identifying talent, and playing them. That's probably the number one storyline of the season. Is like he would not let the young guys play, despite how bad the veterans ahead of him were. And it's just like, again, like I don't think Raider Nation was impatient at all. Like we were begging Pete Carroll to just show us a little bit of improvement. We want some stability. Just show us that something is going in the right direction. And it just going to get it. We're almost done an hour, but I do want to get one thing I've been thinking about today randomly. I'm curious what you think, Soto.
Okay.
I actually want to keep Geno Smith next season.
Go on.
One, just because it's only going to save us $8 million to get rid of him, and I still want a veteran backup, and it's only $8 million we'd save cutting him. There's that little one. But mostly, Soto, I want to know, I want him to be like a litmus test. He was pretty good in Seattle. He was a solid above average starter in Seattle. He was dog shit with the Raiders. Under Klint Kubiak, what is he? I'm very curious because like you take him in one place and he's pretty good. You take him in another place, he's complete dog shit. I want him to be like a litmus test. So like if Fernando Mendoza is fucking all pro next season, rookie of the year, and just killing it, and Geno Smith is just as bad as it was last season, we know it was Geno. If Fernando Mendoza is like really struggling, He's just not getting the reads. The game is too fast. He's developing super slow. But Geno is like year one at Seattle level. Then like, okay, it's Fernando, right? Like I kind of want him there just because he's a barometer for what's going on in that quarterback room.
I think you're high. I think you're high. I think you have to look forward. I think you have to have a plan, and you have to have the best plan moving forward to develop your young quarterback. And I don't think having a veteran quarterback who with maybe get it?
No.
Maybe if you have a veteran quarterback that has, the ability to throw 35, 40 touchdowns in a year, it's going to be good for his development. I think everything that you're doing from this point forward is how do I get Fernando Mendoza on the field as fast as possible? How do I get him ready to start taking snaps right away? And keeping a guy like Geno Smith is not that path. That $8 million can be an offensive lineman. That $8 million can be a starter for us. So $8 million isn't a tremendous amount of money, but it's definitely enough to be able to get a solid contributor to our team instead of a placeholder for somebody who doesn't have a future with us.
Did you see Geno tweeting during the Super Bowl?
I did not.
He's just like, he's trying to be like an X's and O's guy. He's like, oh, Seattle is pairing weak inside zones with cans, just stretch runs on the 5-tech, blah, blah, blah. And all the replies are just like, you suck, shut up. Like, you realize that the team that got rid of you won the Super Bowl, and the team that picked you up is picking number 1 overall. Like, this isn't the time for you to be wowing us with your QB wisdom, Geno.
Right.
Like, let everything simmer down, and we'll forget, and you can reinvent yourself again, and we can like hear it. But it was just people just like eviscerating him for trying to like X's and O's the Super Bowl.
You just gotta realize the room and, just stop. Oh, Geno.
Well, we'll have plenty of time to talk backup and second string quarterbacks from now until draft and free agency, because that's going to be a pretty big hire too. That's going to be a pretty important. If it's not Geno, it's going to be a very important pickup, right? Like a Flacco or something, right? Just like a veteran you can learn under. One of a million things to get to, Soto, in the coming months. Exciting times.
Yes, sir.
And until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, look at you making it to the end of our video. Congratulations. You can go ahead and click the next video, or if you're feeling wild, subscribe.